But up until the point where they actually said, well, we'll help you out, we didn't really have a lot of discussion with them. So we kind of abandoned the project until August, which was a couple of months. So just so you get an idea of what Silverlight 1.0, Silverlight 1.0, it's this little control that you put in your browser, and it becomes a div in HTML, and then you can script it with JavaScript, right? So JavaScript sends commands and says, well, put a line, put a video, rotate the video, hook up this event. If you get a click, do this, that sort of thing. So it's a very, very basic engine. Think of it as a Canvas engine. If you're familiar with the GNOME Canvas or all the thousands of PostScript-like systems like Flash or PDF, the model is pretty much the same, but it incorporates video and audio. And it also incorporates an animation framework. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples. Maybe the examples, what happened here? Oh, I'm not running, I guess, all right. Oh, I can't see Dick. All right, well, I can't see anything. I don't know that you guys are going to be able to see anything, but just so you get an idea, for example, let's look at this one. All right, so this is a bunch of text rendered with Silverlight, and I'm going to show you how that gets, how this is created. So it's actually very simple stuff. All you do is you have these things called text blocks, and you describe the font that you're going to use, the width, the text that you want to show, and you can configure all kinds of other elements in the text. It's a very simple XML file format. This is called XAML. And each one of these tags actually represents an object, right? So when you see canvas, it actually means create an object of type canvas. When you see a sub-object like this one, like rectangle, it means create a rectangle object and then insert it into the list of children on the parent object, which is canvas in this case. And each one of these ones maps to a property, to a C# property, right? So this means assign to the stroke property the value black, assign the number 500 to the property width, and so on. So basically, XAML is a serialized representation of your application. It's very much like Glade, if you're familiar with Glade. Now, there's a couple of other interesting things. We're not going to have time to go through all of the demos. This is just showing you how the image brush is used with different parameters and so on. But I wanted to show you a couple of things. There's an animation built into Silverlight. Oops, what did I do? I clicked the wrong thing. There's an animation framework built into this thing, and it all happens within this object called, within this thing called double animations, right? So in this particular case, you have an animation. It says when it begins, what this animates. So basically, this is going to be animating an object called ellipse, and this describes what is the property on the ellipse that you're going to be modifying. In this case, it's some long extension, but what is important is that it targets the angle, right? And it also says that you must eventually get to the value 360, right? And this is triggered by the storyboard. In this particular case, as soon as you load the application, it will trigger the animation. So this is going to be interesting for a couple of things later. So I'm going to show you what that actually does. That is just moving that ellipse. It's not a very sophisticated animation. But as you can see, there's one animation that moved the ellipse, another one is rotating, and then the other one is moving it back. This is an animation that we did before we went to Paris, and I don't have better animations because I suck at design. I have no taste, so I'm just using the demos that my team built as part of making this happen. So you're not going to see anything flashy or fascinating in the presentation today. Sorry about that. Now, I think I'm going to stop here. Oh, you might want to look at this one. This is a small. Which one do I want to see? Oh, you actually can't see. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a video playing here. And in this particular case, I don't know if you can see, but the text is actually rendered with a video. So you can use video as a brush. So anywhere where you can use a brush for filling or stroking or rendering text, it turns into a video, and that's what you see right there. Let me show you the source code for that. So here I define the media, right? Here I define the video with media element, and I give it a name, example video, and I tell it which file I want it to play back, right? Then I have a text. Here's the text that says moon and then moonlight. And what it says is I set the property text block foreground, and I say, please use a video brush that uses this video source. right? So I'm basically using a video brush to paint on the screen. So that's kind of some of the interesting pieces that you can do with Silverlight 1.0. Well, we can. I think that we're going to run late because I want to cover a bunch of other things. So if we have time at the end, I can show you some sample applications. For now, I'm just going to skip them. Which, by the way, what time is it? Now, as I mentioned, the actual scripting of these applications in Silverlight 1.0 happens entirely from JavaScript. So there's really no magic here. It's the browser that is controlling actually Silverlight surface. And if we have time, we can later come back and see my Sudoku that I wrote entirely in Google. Oh, that reminds me. Is there a network connection here? Could I get a network cable? Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, that's good because I'm going to use it later. I'm very proud of my Silverlight Sudoku because I built the entire beast in Google IG. You know, that tiny little window that you get in your portal thing. So they have a little editor where you can write code. So I wrote an entire Sudoku using that little editor. It has a preview button, so it's very cute. It's all JavaScript and HTML. There's nothing else. There is a little bug, which is that it only works on Firefox. It doesn't work on IE. There's some JavaScript difference, but I don't care enough to. Anyways. Silverlight 1.1 is fascinating because now you add the .NET scripting engine as opposed to just having, as opposed to having the browser control the control and writing everything in JavaScript to control it. Silverlight 1.1 actually puts the .NET framework inside. So that means that you can use any .NET language to script it. That means that you can actually write web applications using C# or Ruby or Python or F# or PHP or VB on the client. I'm not talking about the server side, I'm talking about the client side. So you can use any of these languages on the client side, and you also get a very nice performance improvement over using JavaScript. You get about 500x performance increase in these cases. And you get access to all the .NET languages. So it's not limited to the ones that we support. Anything that ships with a .NET language or any .NET language that you use, commercial or open source, you can use in the virtual machine. Now, as soon as I get my cable, it's coming. Yeah, so we're going to have to wait. Oh, no, actually we can. I think I have a local version of that. So I might be able to show you that. Where's that? So what I'm going to show you now, it's a chess application. Let me see if it, CVS, SL demos, chess. So what I'm going to show you, this is a chess program that was built by Microsoft, and it kind of shows you the difference between the two. Well, I hope you can see that. But this chess program implements the same chess playing algorithm both in C# and in JavaScript. So they took the same algorithm for playing, deciding what is the next move, and they implemented it in both languages, in C# and .NET. So you can either have the human play against Mono or the human play against JavaScript. There's a timeout. Every second, you only have 1 second to think your move, or a couple of seconds. And what this does is it actually keeps track of how many nodes you computed before you had to make your decision. And if you're familiar with how how computers play chess, or simple implementations, what you basically want to do is try as many possibilities, and then you pick the best one, right? So the deeper you can go, the better the move will be. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make Mono fight JavaScript here. So right now we have Mono on the other end, and we have the human on this side. And I'm going to make it fight JavaScript in this particular case. And what you have to pay attention to is these two numbers. This human is going to turn into JavaScript, and this that you can see is going to turn into Mono, right? It's going to turn into the number of requests of computations per second. Am I getting there? All right. Well, just pay attention, so you'll get an idea of how fast that is. Actually, my computer is running at low speed, so let me fix that. Oh, thank you. But you can get right there an idea of the difference in speed that you can achieve between using those two frameworks. Oh, all right, I'll see. Okay. Power save. Okay, and now, what is it that you want? The IP address? Well, it'll be here in a second. Well, as soon as I have it, I'll give it to you. When that thing stops moving. Anyways, but what I wanted to show you is basically that you do get a dramatic performance difference between those two languages. And of course, my friend Vladimir that was standing in the back a few minutes ago asked me, well, why wouldn't you want to use C# on the browser? It's like, well, I hate JavaScript, so, I mean, it's a matter of preference. Some people like Mercedes, some people like me, like the cheap Toyota $4,000 that we bought. So, I want to use C#, I don't want to use JavaScript in the browser. Chris here on the team actually loves JavaScript, so, he has a foot on every platform. So you want my IP address? Yeah. 169, no, that doesn't seem right. I don't think you gave me an IP address. That's my default from the office. Anyways, well, if we don't have network, we'll survive. Okay. So, well, anyways, you're not going to be able to see a lot, but let me explain to you a little bit of what we did with Moonlight. So the actual Moonlight engine has a bunch of things. It has an animation framework, a rendering canvas, video integration, audio integration, playback, all of that stuff. It's linked as well with the Mono virtual machine, so that's what's actually running the scripts at high speed. The Silverlight libraries that we built, and also we're using Microsoft's DLR. Microsoft actually open sourced a large chunk of code, which is the Microsoft DLR, which allows you to run Python code and Ruby code in there. So this is what roughly Moonlight is made of. Now, we have built two interfaces on top of that. One of them is a web browser plugin. That's what we actually run inside Firefox. And of course, we want to run on more browsers, but right now we're focused on Firefox initially. And then we also created a GTK standard widget that we can use to embed in applications. And finally, we created this command called mopen that lets you run standalone applications with Moonlight on your desktop. And that's kind of the things that we wanted to do. Wow, you can't see Dick. Well, there's supposed to be some arrows there and some numbers. But all right. So this is our engine, our Moonlight engine. And all of the media stuff, we used to implement all of the media stuff on top of FFmpeg, right? So FFmpeg provided the loading of the files. Well, kind of. It doesn't really do it. The loading of the file, the demuxing. So basically, given a media file, it would actually have to determine what is video, what is audio, and then hand those over to a decoder. And then it contains the decoders for VC1, WMV, WMA, and so on. And then once we, well, there's some arrows there, so we get that data from there, and we send that to the chirographics thing. The next stage is in preparation to our work with Microsoft. We actually had to change that because we can't really use the FFmpeg code base for that. So what we've done right now is we've rewritten completely the media pipeline. So we now do streaming, and we support HTTP and MMS streaming, those URLs that you can never play back. So we support those beasts there, and we implemented it on demuxer. And right now we're only reusing the FFmpeg codecs. So that's the stuff that turns the compressed images into full images and the compressed audio into PCM data. Now, as part of the agreement that we signed with Microsoft in September, Microsoft agreed to provide a media pack for Linux. And the reason why this is needed is because the patents that apply to medias are actually routinely enforced, and they're aggressively enforced by the owners of these patents. There's a kind of a consortium that licenses these patents called MPEG-LA. So if you want to do QuickTime, or if you want to do Windows Media, or you want to do MPEG-4, you need to get a patent license from these guys. And that's the problem with FFmpeg, that it's a JPL implementation, but we're not allowed to redistribute that if we take a license. So if we take a license from MPEG-LA to legally give you that, then we're in violation of the GPL, which is why we can't use FFmpeg code. So what Microsoft offered is actually to distribute a media pack for every Linux that we ask them to and every BSD that we ask them to, provided we set up the machines for them and the build system for them. But the idea is that they will provide the that piece, the blue box on the bottom for everybody, and they will incur the licensing costs without us having to pay for that. So today, if you want to use Moonlight, oh, actually you can see the lines now. If you want to use Moonlight today, if you build it from source code, you'll get the full media experience, but we're not allowed to distribute that from the Novell website. So as part of the agreement, in addition to the media pack, they gave us access to the regression test suites, so we can ensure that we pass every test that they pass, that we render the way that we're supposed to render, animation, video, and audio, and complete specification and access to the developers. Although contractually we're only obligated, as part of this agreement, to support the top 3 Linux distributions, our goal is to support every possible Linux distribution that we can and support every BSD and every tablet and every thing. But the contract only requires to do 3. We're planning on doing absolutely everything that we can, or anything that Microsoft doesn't support, so maybe PowerPC Mac as well. So basically, Microsoft is going to provide that green blob out there, and you will have to download Moonlight, and then Moonlight will take you to the Microsoft website to download the codec so that they pay the fee, not everybody else. These codecs, though, come with a restriction. You cannot use these codecs outside of Moonlight. So if you want to use it for Totem, you're not allowed to, which is a problem. So you're still going to have to use GStreamer and purchase codecs or something like that for that. This is only for the in-browser experience. And in fact, for the out-of-browser experience that we'll talk about later, Buck over here in the audience, raise your hand. He's our Gongathon hero. He's going to be integrating GStreamer to do that when we want to use the media codecs outside of the browser. So now, Silverlight 2. So Silverlight 1 was very basic stuff. 1.1 added the .NET Framework. 2.0 adds a control infrastructure. So you have entry lines, scroll bars, widgetry, all that stuff. So in fact, you have a full widget toolkit, equivalent to GTK or Qt. You have the full set of things that you need to build applications. And in particular, it comes with data binding grids, which is something that we in the Unix world don't really do. But basically, it allows you to say, well, this data grid, it's mapped to this database. And it lets you edit directly the database with whatever constraints you have without having to do the work yourself. So they have a lot of very interesting features, but the most important one is that they do have a control framework for the first time. Before, you had to build it yourself. But the second piece that is really interesting is that the theming, the way you theme this thing is with XAML components. So when you put a button on the screen, there's actually no description of how the button is going to be rendered. The actual definition of the rendering comes from a XAML file. So just like you could animate anything that you wanted on the screen or add anything that you wanted to the screen, you can animate differently or even add more components to the screen. So this is a standard look and feel. Well, no, this is actually not the standard one. But you can very easily theme it, and you can come up with things like that. And again, you can pretty much define anything that will be on the screen on your own terms. So you can actually control when the mouse comes in, what should happen, which animation gets triggered, when you check a button or uncheck the button, and so on. The piece that is really interesting, the piece that is really interesting is that Microsoft open source everything above the engine is open source. So the buttons, how to build buttons, the themes, all of that stuff they open sourced, and they also open sourced the test suite, so you can make sure that you don't break those controls as well. So the bad news is that the 2.0 stuff we haven't started working. We are not going to start work on 2.0 until later this summer. Right now we're focused on 1.0. We're going to ship that stuff because that's what everybody's using out there for the web. And by everybody, I mean the 0.5% of people using Silverlight. But, you know, for that 0.5% of users, it's really important to get it. The good news is, as I said, they're open sourcing the controls, they open source the DLR, they open source their compilers, so we don't have to do any of that work ourselves. So we hope to be about 9 months behind them. Now, what I wanted to show you is that the technology in Silverlight is really interesting, but we don't want to limit it to the browser. We actually want to use it on the desktop. So what you can't see there is that that's supposed to be a screenshot of me showing you the source code and for a XAML file and how that XAML file is displayed. Which I kind of went through in the beginning. Yes? It's MSPL, Microsoft public license. It's an OC-approved open source license. And it is very similar in spirit to X11 license, but it contains a patent clause like the Apache license. So basically, it also grants you a patent license to any IP that they might have on that piece of code. So it's better than X11. In fact, I would like to change the mono source code from X11 to MSPL because that would mean that if Novell owns a patent on that code, we could not sue you ever. But I'm afraid that if I do that, everybody that hates me is going to hate me more because I used a license that is better, but it contains the substring Microsoft. So it's a really good license. Maybe we should just call it the Novell public license and just copy-paste the whole thing. But it's a really good license, and it's OC approved. So anyways, so you can't see that, but that's basically, well, actually, I guess you could, let me just close that bad boy. But let me show you. If I open a terminal, maybe I can do something with the terminal here. Terminal, change profile presentation. Oh, that's better. All right. Oh, well, there's that. Oh, I have a lot of those. All right, test. Oh, crap. Text. Animation, I guess. Okay, so that's a very simple animation, but what is interesting is that you actually trigger that with the command mopen. So basically, this is a standard a command line tool that we're very excited about, and let me show you why. Kind of, you know, I'm a little bit envious of the macOS 10 people because they can deploy applications by drag and dropping a directory, right? So the whole application is contained in a directory. You don't need admin privileges to install an application. You just copy the directory from one place to another. And in Unix, we have historically, when you install a piece of software with RPM, some stuff ends up in bin, some in lib, some in libexec, some in share, some in man, right? So it's all over the place. There's no easy way of copying an app from one place to another. So a couple of years ago, we started, and part of the reason for this thing is it dates back to the NFS days, right? So a lot of these decisions were made at a time where you wanted to share as much space as possible, and everything was hosted on a big server. So many of these policies made sense at the time, and I believe that many of those policies don't make sense anymore. So I like the macOS approach of having everything contained in a directory. So we've kind of been moving quietly in the monospace to do that. We have this thing called the Application Deployment Guidelines that tell you that your whole application is in a directory, and the only thing that is not in a directory is a bin script that just launches the application in the directory. So it basically just says mono and the name of the application, which means that you can drag the directory, but we couldn't quite solve the bin issue by having a script to launch it. So what we did with mopen is we wrote this little command called mopen, which is very similar to the macOS open command, right? So when you say open calendar and it launches the calendar, we built a tool very similar to that in Spirit. And basically, mopen can not only open XAML files, but it will also look in your path for any directories. So if you say mopen mail client, it will look in your path for any directory called mail client and then look up a XAML file called default.xaml inside and launch it. So we want to bring this because it's very similar to the macOS 10 open command. And anyways, I go into the details. The other thing is that we also allow you to do desklet applications. So last year, we built some interesting desklets, so standalone applications that you can run on your desktop using XAML and Silverlight, because we figured you can really do cute designs much better than what you can do with a regular widget toolkit. And I'll share them to you in a second. But basically, our goal is, we have 3 goals here. 1, ensure that Linux has access to Silverlight applications and Silverlight content on the web. That's easy. The second one is we want to be able to use Silverlight to create native applications, right? So for things that need to be flashy, for things that you want to be very cute, we want to be able to build those kinds of applications for the desktop standalone. So you can think of it as a competing toolkit to GTK, but you know, it's just certain applications are better suited with GTK. Flashy stuff probably is better for this thing, like a Twitter client, you know. And the third class is we want to spice up existing applications. So I'm going to show you a couple of those things. So first are the desklets. So we built a couple of desks. Oh, this is really bad. How do I do this thing? All right, so this is not the best environment to demo with this low resolution, but we have a bunch of desklets. For example, what is good? Glassy calendar. And there's a little, well, you can't actually see it. Oh, Jesus. Oh, it crashed. Never mind, so don't see that. What's another example? Glassy clock. Where is it? Well, it must show up somewhere. Where? Oh. Oh, yeah, I see it now. Now I just need to find a cursor. Okay. So that classic clock is just, well, okay. So you can't see anything, but the idea is that you build these little desklet applications. They're running natively. I don't know if you can see the X cross there. Well, there's an X cross that you can use to close it. You see that? Right? And, it has a little animation to show it and, highlight it and so on. These are very simple applications, and they're standalone applications. They're built with Silverlight. The major problem is that kind of my team is an engineering team. We're not really designers. So all of these UIs were built by hand with people with no taste. And I love my team, but, we have no taste. So hopefully, people that have good Inkscape skills, they can just use Inkscape, build an awesome UI, and then hand the XAML file that comes out of Inkscape and just have a programmer build the logic. And that's kind of the fundamental. I'm sorry? Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I think I have installed Inkscape on this machine that does that. Let me see if I do. I don't know if I have the right version, but if it is, you build that thing and then you say File, Export to Save As maybe. Oh, there it is. So drawing XML. So drawing XML. So there you go. And you can turn it into a desklet by just doing -D. So that runs it into a desktop desklet. So if some people have good taste, we can start building some cute XAML applications with this. It's not going to be me. All right, so that's the desklet piece. The thing that I'm most excited about actually is, let me just go back to my slides. Is that the next demo? So that's one piece. So again, we got the browser, and probably I should show you the browser in action. Did I ever get my IP sorted out? Oh, I think I did. All right, I'll promise I'll show you some Silverlight applications once I show you the other thing that we want to do. So, evolution? No. Mono develop? So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the GTK widget that you can embed in an existing GTK Sharp application to extend it and do some interesting stuff with it. All right. Hope it's not crashed. All right, there it goes. The resolution is not great, so we're going to struggle a little bit with that. So this is the Banshee. This is Mono Developer IDE for building applications with this thing. Aaron Buck over here, or Gongathon Hero, was kind enough to modify Banshee to add an extra little thing on the menu so I could show you what I'm going to show you today. So first I'm going to run the application so you get an idea of what it looks like. All right. I have 7 minutes. So he added this tab called Sample. And Sample all it does is right now it renders a GTK button here. And whenever I try to play a video, it switches to this sample rendering engine, and it says, and it renders the value that I was given. I said, please go and play back this WMV file. So we're going to be modifying this example to show you. Well, I think I need to quit it from here. All right, to show you something interesting. So I'm going to go. Where's that thing? Solution Banshee. And then I need solution extensions and the Banshee sample. This is a sample that Buckover built for me. And here's a source code. And I can't remember which one it is. Let me just close this window. Okay, it's not this one. I think this is the one. So this is the button that was created initially. So you show the button, you add it to the UI. And then when I click the button, it basically this thing. It says button.label, and it just rendered the track that I was using. So what I'm going to do instead here is I'm going to create a GTK Silver widget. To do that, the first thing that I need to say is I need to import the library. So so the library has already been imported, but I can't remember what it is. I'm going to click in this thing. So this lets me browse the API of the library I'm using, GTK Silver, and I see that it's called GTK Moonlight. So all I need to do is, and I need to use this widget. So here you can see the public definition of the widget that I'm going to be using here, right? So I say here, using GTK Moonlight. and you can see there the IntelliSense. I'm going to need a couple of extra namespaces using system.windows. This is all Silverlight using system.windows.media. Yep. Using system.windows.controls. All right. And instead of creating a button here, what I'm going to create here is it's a GTK Silverlight surface. So GTK Silver surface. And I just say new GTK Silver. All right. The fact that it's auto-completing right now, everything here to the full namespace is a bug in the IDE. Ignore that, I'm running CVS. So there's a couple of buglets here and there. So ignore the buglets there. And here, instead of changing the button, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do something interesting with it. So the other piece that I need is I need to actually load something from there. So I'm going to say surface.canvas, and I want to say load. Oh, how do I do that? Load from XAML. How do I do that? Oh, no, it's surface.load. Okay, it's surface.load. Okay, load XAML. So I have a couple of pre-made XAML files that I have here. Let me remember what they are called. CVS Moon. So where are they? So test animation text. This is a very simple one. So CVS Moon test animation text.xaml. It's a very simple UI. And when this is ready, what do I want to do here? I think this is, I'm sorry? What? No, it's fine. Oh, well, there's that. All right, let me try that out. Oh, there's an error. There's an overload that takes one argument? No? Really? That is not right. Oh. This seems like it's using an old library because we did add. Oh, wait. It's supposed to be canvas. This smells bad because the name button. Oh, well, we need to take out of that packs surface. Well, it seems like I'm using an old library because that error shouldn't be there anymore. So if you go to the sample, what happened here? Oh, I guess I need to. Wait, what happened here? It's supposed to load my animation. All right, let me try instead. Oh, you know what? You know what? That file doesn't exist. It's called one.text animation. All right. Although I suspect that I'm using an old version of this thing because that error is not, that API shouldn't be that. Okay, let me close Banshee and restart again. All right. Jesus, why is it not doing it? What the hell happened here? Oh, this is horrible. My demo is failing. What happened? Oh, wait. Well, doesn't this return the object that I need to render? Let me look at the source code. Hold on. Never mind. Oh, crap. So I had an earlier version of this, criminal current profile presentation. What am I doing? So I load the file. That's broken. I'm sorry? Oh, did I do that? Oh, that's why. All right, no wonder. So it's load file instead of that, and I don't need the canvas. That's what was very suspicious. Oh, all right. Okay. Holy shit. All right, there he goes. So, okay, so this is a canvas embedded into the GTK Sharp application that is doing the same demo that you saw before. Now, let's spice it up a little bit. Okay, all right, now I can stop hyperventilating. Now, let's put some video there. So, instead of that, I'm going to put 2video.xaml, 2-video.xaml. And here we're going to need to do a little bit more work because now we need to actually start a playback because otherwise it's not going to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of things. So the first thing that I need is I need to find out from this guy. So I'm going to say surface.canvas find name, and I'm going to show you why. So I need to get a handle to the video playback element. So let me show you this file. It's a very simple video player. All it does is it declares a media element, right? And it has the name I give it the name example video, right? And then it's just going to render it at 800 by 600, and it's going to paint a rectangle with that brush. That's it. Nothing too fancy. But I need to get a handle to the media so I can start the playback. So I'm just going to say find name, example video, right? And this is going to return me a media element, right? You remember that from you might remember that from that class over there, remember? Every one of these maps to a class, right? So once I have that thing, I want to do a couple of things here. When I get my file name, I want to say e.source equals new URI, because this requires a URI. And then I need to, what is my parameter? It's track. So I think it's file, / plus track dot URI dot local path. I think that's correct. So I opened that thing. So I set the source. I said, this is the video you're going to play. And then say, just start playback now. Right? Whew. Oh, all right. There's probably a bug here. Object. So I have a null reference somewhere. What happened? In line 58, I fucked up. Okay. No big deal. We'll just close that bad boy. You can take your time. So line 58, what did I do? What? Oh, well, there's a whole thing about first, I need to first load the file and then I do that. All right, okay, that makes sense. So first I need to load the file, otherwise there's never going to be an object inside. All right, there we go. So now when I try to play a video and I double click on this thing, it switches to this other window, which is showing the XAML file. I was like, oh my God, you're awesome. I know. But the awesomeness doesn't end there. I don't know. I actually, as I said, I really have really bad taste for these things. So I created another one that actually shows a bunch of videos at once. So again, this is using the same video source, right? Videos. So let me show you the source code so you get an idea of what's going to happen here. Where's that? Open with gedit. So again, I have my media element. So I said, and it has the same name, conveniently, example video. And then I create a bunch of rectangles. And all of these rectangles basically have different stretching modes. So stretch none, stretch uniform to fill, stretch, there's all these kinds of different stretching modes just to try it out. So I'm going to show you now the same app, same Banshee, but this time it's going to get a creative video display. So I'm going to go again to my video library. I'm going to click Cinema Paradiso. And in this case, you can see the same video playing back in a bunch of things. This is one of our standard video tests. It's from the Halo 3 website. And, well, you can see it there. I don't play Halo. I hate video games. The only game that I can play is Sudoku. But anyways, Sudoku is never going to get a promotional material like this. Now, the other thing that I figured is like, well, that is not really interesting to the audience. So I figured I'm going to show my designer skills by showing you videos moving on the screen. So this is actually using a combination of videos and animations and transformations on the videos. It's probably not the best you can do, but again, I just have no taste. So anyways, so here you're going to see a little bit of so you can see here, I have a couple of animations rotating those videos over there, and I think I did something with this one. Oh, there it goes. So, they're not the best animations in the world, but that's all I could cook myself. I just dragged stuff around on the IDE, and then I said hit. So, so you can see those videos doing dorky stuff. Let me kill this thing. And finally, just to finish it up, I want to show you this with a video brush. It might not look as good here. 5.video brush. Is that space or no space? Video brush. So again, same thing. This time I'm going to use the video as a brush to paint some text. So again, I'm just going to pick some video here. Cinema Paradiso. Well, you can barely see it, but there's a video playing back, and you can hear the audio if you come to my laptop really close. So anyways, to summarize, there's 3 uses that we want to do for this thing. Getting access to Silverlight content on the web. I know all of you want to go to download.microsoft.com, and you've been wondering why I can't download stuff. Big concern. Number 2, spicing up our existing GTK applications. Number 3, creating desktop applications. I promised that I would show you some websites actually running with Silverlight. So unless you complain, I'm going to show those to you while you guys have some questions. I don't know. Sprawl is a good one. I'll start a new session. This is pretty much the end of my talk. I have a roadmap, but I don't think anybody gives a fuck about that. So why don't you guys ask some questions and you get some prizes. Well, this game loads. You have 9 minutes for questions. Don't lose them. Yes?
Okay, filling question. What about mixed mode assemblies?
Mixed mode assemblies. We don't support those yet. But as I told you, and I think I told you, you were the one that mailed me yesterday.
Yes.
Oh, we're taking patches. So now, just so you know, mixed mode assemblies are Microsoft is able to generate code that uses a chunk of bytecode from .NET and a chunk of native code, and they're able to mix them. Now, the problem is that their compilers do that, right? So their C compiler can generate chunks in .NET and chunks in native code, and then they mix them, which is fantastic for Windows people. And I wish we could do it, but it would require a lot of work on GCC. Right now, GCC is now only getting support for CIL compilation. It will need more work to get CIL and native code at the same time. So it's a feature that is very important to Windows people, but to us it's not that important because we don't even have it on Linux, so we haven't implemented that feature. He comes from the Wine team, and the Wine team wants to be able to use a fully open source stack to run Windows apps. So he needs the mono runtime to be able to run chunks of managed code with chunks of native Windows code. So we're taking patches.
Right, and so my question is really, so how big a job would that be for us to implement? If you have any feeling for it.
It depends how good you are. If you were a Chris Toshok, it will probably take you about 2 weeks. If you're not Chris Toshok, and anyways, it depends really. So anyways, this is the Microsoft website for Halo 3, not the Flash one because they have two, the Flash one and the other one. And, it does streaming and it does, all that junk. So I know you guys are not excited, but. So that is a very good question. So there's 2 pieces to package it. You can package it today. If you get it from our CVS repository, anybody can package it. And actually, I would love if a non-Novell company packages it. And here's why. We became MPEG-LA licensors, which means that now since we are going to be distributing this stuff, we became licensors to the patents from MPEG-LA, which means that we're unable to distribute any source that infringes on those patents that is under the GPL. So we are not allowed to distribute Moonlight with FFmpeg. Anyone that has not signed those things and is willing to, fight the man and stick it to the man, can do that. So if you're based in Europe or in that island, what is that thing called in the middle of the ocean? What? Yeah, CCD? What? Yeah, Sealand. If you're in Sealand, you can package it and, fuck it. What are they going to do to you? So I would really like to get that thing. Let me show you the installation experience right now. This is how you install Moonlight for every Linux distribution. So there's a single install. Oh, not Monologue. That's a blog. Hold on. Moonlight. So this is the installation experience. Well, you can't see Dick because our artist, Aaron Buckover, who is also Gongathong and Banshee Hacker, designed this incredibly dark theme. But you go here and you click Moonlight 1.0, Linux IX86. There's a x86-64 there that you can't see because it's too dark, because we automatically detect that you're x86, so we suggest the one and we gray out the other one. Beautiful Ajax stuff. And then you say edit options and allow, go mono, and then you say close. So you click again, and then it says you want to install this guy, and you say install. Okay, how about too big window? Oh, I guess I use it maximized. Whoa, where did it go? Well, I guess it's somewhere now. Well, it already installed it, but you didn't see it. Let's install it again. So you install it, and it's done. So that's the experience. And once you have that, it's ready to go. So now, when you install the one that we publish here, it comes with no codecs. So as soon as you go to a site with codecs, you're going to get nothing, right? So right now, I just broke my system, because I used to have video. Now I don't have video. Now, there's a secret URL that, luckily, you guys can see on the screen, and I'm not publishing, which contains the one with the codecs, which only Novell employees can use at this point. So now that gave me back video. So anyways, so publishing, as soon as somebody packages it, go ahead, be my guest. The other limitation that we have on packaging is that there's a process, since the new Tarball will contain crypto, there's a process. As of today, it doesn't contain crypto, but it will contain it next week. And there's a process that we have to fulfill with the U.S. government to register all crypto code before it's shipped. So next week, we're going to have to do this thing called the ECR, the Export Control Review. And once we do that, we'll have a public Tarball and all of that stuff. So you can either package it today, or you're going to have to, you're going to have to wait a couple of weeks before we can do exports control. But, all the code is on CVS. So it's funny. If we publish Tarball, we need to do exports control. If you get it from CVS, you don't need to. So if you get it from CVS, you can get it any day. So anyways. Yes? So I only got the first part. How good is the support for Python and other dynamic languages? I believe the Python support is pretty good. They released 1.0 last year, and they've been working towards their 2.0. So it's definitely not a 100% compatible implementation yet, 1.0. 2.0 is getting a lot closer. Ruby is, I know that it's pretty good, but it's not able to run Ruby on Rails yet. That is their major next goal for that team. And I heard that they're now passing 70% of the tests. Yeah, it works exactly the same as in .NET. The good news is that since they're also open sourcing all their test suites, so we can run the exact same test suites and make sure that we run just as well as them. Every once in a while, they'll use a special .NET feature that we don't have, so we have to implement it. So, it's been really good for us because every time they add a new feature, we finish it up. So Mono kind of keeps improving as those virtual machines improve. And I could show you some of the stuff that we've been doing in terms of API compatibility. If I can find my presentations program. Oh, I think it's this one. Alt file open. Whoops, alt file open. What is it called? Slides, I think it's called. Oh, it's not there. Alt file open. Documents, MoMA. Oh, please. Where the hell did I put that? MoMA. Oh, there it is. Yes, next question. It's about 3 megs. It's about 3 megs right now. With the full Mono. So we're not as small as the Microsoft one. Microsoft has a lot smaller download than we do. We are linking right now, since we depend on the latest Cairo for some features, and not every system ships the latest Cairo. We need to ship statically linked Pixman, Cairo, PhantomFig, I think, or no. There's something else that we have to statically link, which makes the download larger. Hopefully, over the years, that won't be the case anymore. So, anyways, these are some statistics of some of the. Okay, so it's very hard to see, but we have this tool that lets you explore how compatible your .NET. Oh, am I done? I'm done.
Finish, yeah.
Well, I don't need to. It's okay. Well, all right. Well, we have this tool that lets you explore, that people can download to see whether their application will run with Mono. And this goes back to kind of how complete our support is. And we've received 4,600 unique applications on this database, so people that try to run this stuff with Mono. From that thing, as you can see, there's about 45% run out of the box, and that means no changes are required to your app. Then we got some that require either one change in your app, so that means that you're using a Win API, or it requires an API that we haven't implemented. 2 changes is the next block, so 1 change, 2 changes, 3 changes, 4 changes. So as you can see, this is the same charge, but basically it evaluates how much work it's going to take you. So half of those applications will take you a couple of days to make sure that it runs on Linux. There's about 5%, 10% 1 week. There's another 15% 2 weeks. And there's a couple of them that will really be, you really need to be committed to port it to Linux. But basically, we can get about 65% to 70% of .NET apps to run on Linux unmodified. And we hope to keep improving this number. So we basically want to go after those 3 slices on the left hand so we can port 75% of the apps. So anyways, thanks for coming. And if you have some more questions, I'll be around.